This is chapter number 7, Weavers, Iron Smelters and Factory Owners. Iron and steel factories come up in India. What does it mean? Loha and Ispat. Iron and steel factories, how did they come up in India? So before that, let me give you a story, a very interesting story. It's 1904, two gentlemen, it was very hot at that time, April. One was Charles Weld. Charles Weld. Here is his name. He was an American geologist, working, studying about land and the land content, the soil, etc. So he was the expert on that. And here you see, he is Dorabji Tata. Dorabji Tata, and I am taking a very big name, Jamshedji Tata. So Dorabji Tata was the eldest son of the great Jamshedji Tata. So now these two gentlemen, they were roaming around, traveling in Chhattisgarh because they wanted to search the iron ore deposits. Iron ore means from where the iron is extracted. So they gave a lot of time, they were moving here and there. They went to places. Then one day it happened that when they were just moving around, going to forest and then going to village, they saw certain men and women, a group of men and women, and they were carrying on their head, that is the basket loads of iron ore, tokri, and it was iron ore, loh ayask, iron ore. And when they just asked them, you are having these iron ore, from where you are getting it? From where you are getting it? And these people were Agarias. So the Agarias, basically they are a tribe in Madhya Pradesh, and they are traditionally, conventionally, they are iron smelters. They are doing this work for ages, Agarias. So they were a tribe in Madhya Pradesh. So what happened? One of them just pointed a finger and indicated a hill, and they said, we are getting it from there. And this hill was Rajhara Hills. This hill was Rajhara Hills. If you see this hill, it was the best. Let me not tell you. The Charles Weld will tell you. Charles Weld said, this is one of the finest ores in the world. Whatever we are searching here and there is just near us. It's here only. It was one of the finest ore in the world. And this iron ore, though they cannot use them, these two gentlemen, but it was sent to Bhilai steel plant, and then the rest is history. But what happened to their search? They still were searching because the problem was this place where they searched, they discovered this iron ore. The problem was water. Water. And in iron and steel industry, water is very important. Water is the crux, key. So this search of a proper place, an optimum place, still continued. After a few years, there was a huge forest area that was cleaned up, and this cleaned up area, there was a river called as Subarna Rekha. Subarna Rekha. Please remember this name. The name is Subarna Rekha. This is a river. So this is the river I am talking about. And here you see, this is the Tata Iron and Steel Factory, later called as Tata Iron and Steel Company. And it was on the banks of the river Subarna Rekha. And this is the picture of 1940. Because iron and steel, it needs water. And that was called later as TISCO. And this township which you see here, township means every facility for every individual. Those people who are working, like their houses, the shops, everything. And this was named as Jamshedpur. And Jamshedpur was named in the honor of the great Jamshedji Tata. And in 1912, this TISCO, Tata Iron and Steel Company, it started producing, it began producing the steel, ispat. So in 1920 it started. Okay. And TISCO, when it came into being, that was a very opportunity-wise, specific and good time. Because all the steel coming from where? From Britain. So Britain was sending everything. It was textile or iron or steel, whatever. But the time was very peculiar. You see, 1912, the steel was coming from Britain. People were using it, and the railway line were being laid. At that time, it was the big task project which the English have taken in India. So now for that they need this rail, they need the wheel, they need the bogie part. Okay. So all this needs what? This needs iron. This needs steel. Today also it is needed. So this Britain was fulfilling the need, and those engineers of railway, they were never interested in the Indian born steel. So what happened here? This TISCO or whichever company is making the British quality, they were not matching. That is what the expert were saying. They were really unwilling. They were not interested. They were disinterested in taking this steel which was produced from TISCO or any other setup. But as I said, the time was very important. 1912, the production started, and just in 2 years, there was the First World War. So the First World War broke out, and as I said about textile industry also, the textile stopped coming here. That is why Indian textile industry was able to, take a boon or take a jump. But the iron and steel which was coming from Britain, it was not coming. And in India, the railway was expanding. So who has to be asked? TISCO was asked. We are not having any way to go. Please, TISCO, give us this rail. And they were making produce shells also. Shells. They were producing shells. Also the carriage wheels. That is the bogie, the wheels. So at that time, the TISCO was given the task of producing shells for war, carriage wheels for the different automobiles. So in 1919, the situation was the colonial government, the British government, was taking the 90% of the steel which was manufactured by TISCO. So TISCO, whatever it is producing, say 100 ton it is producing, 90 ton was taken only by the British government, right? British government was taking it. So this was the very important time which it was a good time when TISCO started. Okay, I'll show you a picture. In 1919, it was so much in demand, this iron steel. They had to increase their or expand their area. They have to put a lot of powerhouses and the boilers, etc., whichever is required for iron and steel production. So they have to build in or extend or expand their office, their factory, multiple fold type. So that is how we know the Tatas are respected so much in India. Ratan Tata is one of the greats today. We salute them. Okay. Now, what we have seen, cotton, textile industry or iron and steel company or industry which only expanded whenever British had some problem, or because of some other reason British import declined or it couldn't come. Then only the Indian textile and iron steel industry and other industry, they can come up. So as the nationalist movement, 1947, we got the independence. So 1947, before that, the national movement started. That was the time, 1919, 1920, it was the main time when the main national movement, the Andolan, Rashtriya Andolan was going on. Now these industrialists, they became stronger, the Tatas and everyone. So now these lobby of industrialists, they became stronger, and because they were actually giving to the society, to the government and to the people. But the British rule, was not in a good shape, because there was a lot of thrust, protest, aggression coming from the Indian people. They want to want them to go away. So this British rule also only wanted profit, but because of the industrial class, they wanted protection from the government, because British rule was all about profit. So that is how they gave them this protection. Okay, I'll have to give you a comparison about Japan and India. Japan and India, very important here. So the history of Japan and India, the industrialization, what happened at that time? We are looking at the perspective of industrialization. The Japan industrialization was different. It was a contrast from Indian industrialization. In India, we have British rule. They just wanted that the content should come, or the import should come from Britain, and India is a big market and they wanted profit. They never looked for Indian industries. But in Japan, the government took the control to emancipate, to increase the level of industrialization, to increase the level of the people. So when the Meiji regime came, this was a very important regime, and this assumed the power in 1868. So 1868, when Meiji regime assumed the power, and they wanted to resist the Western domination, because at that time America, Russia and European countries, they were making colonies and they were were stronger, getting stronger and stronger. So Japan didn't want that to happen. So in order to have that Western domination stop, they wanted that industrialization should be done in our country. We need to be industry-wise stronger. So they increased the level of development of postal services, the telegraphs, the railways, the steam engines, especially the steam engine powered shipping. So most advanced technology which at that time which was there in West, they didn't feel Rashtravad or nationalism. They just imported it and adapted it to the needs of Japan. So innovation they were not against, and also they went a step ahead. They called the foreign expert, Western expert, and they taught the Japanese professionals so that they learn what is going on. So what happened here is they also gave the loan through banks. So government, they started a lot of industries by themselves. They initiated it, and then when it was properly established, it was given to different business families, respected business families. Okay, so this was done all under control, not just one or two people. It was being sold right now, what we are facing in India. So this contrast which you see here, in British rule, same what happened to us, and Japan what it did. Okay, this is all about this discussion. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.